What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, you and I are going to talk about how to know if you are in... Nope. That was so perfectly timed.
Nope.
That was...
You're like, nope, because I gotta let this out. That's why.
Whew. That one smells pretty bad. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the video. Today, you and I are going to talk about how to know if...
You said welcome back to the video. Welcome back to the channel. Because they would have been in the video already.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Fuck me, right? No, redo. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, you and I are going to talk about how to know if you're in a calorie deficit or not, which, as you know, a calorie deficit is what you need in order to lose fat. Now, if you don't know how many calories you need to eat or how to be in a calorie deficit, there's a link in my description that will take you to my video that explicitly outlines exactly how many calories you need to eat for fat loss. But this video is going to talk about all of the ways and signs that you can tell that you're actually in a calorie deficit so that you are losing fat. Now, one thing I've noticed over the last few videos is some Dementors, some goblins, some trolls, even some muggles, maybe a few squibs in there, have been asking questions that were answered in the video. And I feel like that might be because some people aren't paying attention. So I've decided to do a mix of hieroglyphics and ad-libs. So basically, my goal here is to get people to watch the whole video, pay attention to the whole thing, and that way all your questions are gonna be answered. All right, so we're gonna start off with the blank. We're gonna progress to you need blank. From there, we'll go to the very famous your blank. After that, we'll go to the blank goes up, and then your hands and feet, something along that lines. Your eyes. That was probably a bad choice of a hieroglyphic, but it's true. Here, extreme cases, then the blank and you need blank. Also text me. Seriously, you can text me. This is a special number. Important to clarify, it's not my personal phone number. It's an application that I have on my phone that allows me to text a bunch of people. And what this does is, someone recently mentioned, they were like, the screenshots you're sharing on your Instagram, everyone's full name is on it, and I blank it out so no one can see, but she was saying like, well, it doesn't seem like you're actually messaging random people because their names are in it. When you sign up to text me, you put your name in and it auto-populates on my application. This way I know your name, and that way I can actually interact with you one-on-one rather than trying to guess your name or not actually know who you are. So if you want to text me, I'm answering questions as much as I can. Obviously getting thousands of texts, so if I'm not replying to you, I promise I'm not ignoring you. I'm just doing my best to reply to everybody. But with that being said, let's get to the video. All right, so starting off with number one, before I tell you what blank is, one of the more common questions I get specifically in regard to how to know if you're in a calorie deficit is people looking for the specific answer as though there's some type of a test that you can do, something that you can take, a pill, some type of a blood test, some type of a chart that you can tell to know if you're in a calorie deficit. And the truth, the blank is truth. That's the word, right, Rico? The blank is truth. The truth is there's no fucking way to tell. There's no test you can take. There's no chart. There's no graph, nothing that's gonna tell you whether or not your body is in a calorie deficit. It doesn't exist. There are many ways that you can tell whether or not you're in a calorie deficit, and we're gonna go over each of them. But if you're just looking for a definitive way to know, for your body to tell you you're in a calorie deficit, it doesn't exist. So with that being said, let's get to what you need. All right, so what do you need? And actually, before we talk about what you need, let's talk about what you definitely do not need. You don't need fat burning pills. You don't need Garcinia cambogia. You don't need raspberry ketones. You don't need a waist trainer. You don't need apple cider vinegar. What you fucking need is patience. Because most people, and bear with me, because a lot of people are gonna be like, ah, fucker, patience, I know, nah. Most people will go into a calorie deficit for a grand total of about 4 hours, and then be fucking pissed that they're not losing fat. Well, how do I know if I'm in a calorie deficit? I've been in this for about 72 minutes. What the fuck is going on? It's like, you need patience. And I know there's gonna be people in the comment section who are gonna be like, oh my God, I've been in this for 3 months straight and I've been perfect. I've been in a calorie deficit. I'm not losing fat. What do I do? You're an asshole. If you are in a calorie deficit legitimately, and you're not losing fat, you're not in a calorie deficit. Again, if you haven't used my calculation, go to the link in my description to find out how many calories I recommend you eat. The video's in my description. If you have not tried that for 90 days straight, I'm gonna just repeat that. Not 4 hours, not 4 days, not 4 weeks, 90 days straight, and been at least 80% consistent, you don't deserve to be upset, and you don't deserve to call me actually, you can call me an asshole if you want to. If you want to call me an asshole, that's fine. But it doesn't change the fact that if you're not being patient and you're not being consistent, you're not gonna see results. So I very much encourage you, go to the link in my description, watch the video on how many calories you should eat, and legitimately track your calories for 90 days straight. Because I guarantee you, if you do, and you're in a calorie deficit, you're gonna lose fat. And just to add one more thing on top of that, number one, you need patience and consistency in order to actually make progress and to lose fat, but you also need patience and consistency for all of these things, right? Because each of these things are indicators of you being in a calorie deficit, but you're definitely not gonna see all of them at once, okay? And you don't need to see all of them at once in order to know that you're in a calorie deficit. Sometimes just one or two of them is enough to say, okay, cool, I'm in a calorie deficit, it's working. And you need to be patient with that. A lot of times people, and we're gonna get to this in a second, you know what? We're just gonna jump right ahead. Your blank, your weight, your measurements, your pictures, your pant size, your belt size. The blank is whatever any number of those things are. Your weight, your measurements, your pictures, your pant size, your belt size, all of this stuff. These are all things that you can use as tools to measure. Sometimes people will message me and say, well, hold on, so my weight hasn't gone down in a week, but my measurements have. Is that good or bad? And it's actually a really good question. If your measurements are going down, but your weight has stayed the same, you're making progress. This is really important to know, and especially if you've seen any of my content around weight fluctuations, which either you could watch my Big Mac challenge video or my scale fluctuation video, both links are in the description. You've seen that your weight is gonna fluctuate on a day-to-day, week-to-week, even month-to-month basis. So if you're basing all of your progress on your weight, you're setting yourself up for failure because your weight will fluctuate. If your weight stays the same and your belt size goes down, you're in a calorie deficit. If your weight stays the same and your measurements go down, you're in a calorie deficit. If your weight stays the same and in your progress pictures you can clearly see that you're leaner, you're probably in a calorie deficit. That's why it's so important to get as much data as possible. Because if you're only getting your weight, that's the only thing you can judge your progress off of. But if you're getting your weight, you're getting your measurements, you're getting your progress pictures, you're looking at your pant size, you're looking at your belt size, now all of a sudden you have 5 forms of measurement, you have 5 different aspects of data that can allow you to see, oh shit, I'm actually making progress. Or, you know what, my weight stayed the same, my pants, they basically feel the same, my belt hasn't changed, my pictures basically look the same. Then you can say, okay, well, it's either been 4 days, so obviously I need to shut the fuck up, or it's been 2 months, and I can look at my consistency, be like, you know what, I haven't been as consistent as I thought I was, or say, you know what, I've been eating 2,200 calories, maybe I should try 2,000 calories, and see if I need to reduce my calories a little bit. That's what data allows you to do. It allows you to look at each of these factors and say, you know what, I'm either making progress, or I'm not making progress, and then decide why. All right, so with all that said, let's get to number 4. And actually, props to Rico, because before we filmed this, he went through the whole board and he guessed this one. When you're in a calorie deficit, I'm gonna say this very slowly, because it's very important for you to know. When you're in a calorie deficit, apparently I'll also do it in another accent, your hunger will increase. That's what the blank is, hunger. Your hunger will go up. Now, I wanna clarify a couple things. Sometimes people hear this and they say, oh, you're promoting being starving just to lose fat? That is abominable. You are a horrible person. No one's actually ever said you're a horrible person. I think some people have. Either way, your hunger is gonna go up. That does not mean you have to be starving and ravenous and feeble and crawling and begging for scraps of food. That's not what that means. What it means is that, God forbid, you're gonna be a little bit hungrier. That's a normal human response. Think of it this way. Have you ever heard people when they're trying to gain weight say they're not hungry at all and it's really hard to get the calories in? Rico literally just waved. He's like, yep, that's me. It's a normal human response for when you're trying to gain weight for your body to reduce hunger. In the same way that when you're trying to lose weight, it's normal for your body to increase hunger. See, your body wants to stay exactly where it is. It's called homeostasis. It doesn't want to lose weight, it doesn't want to gain weight. So when you're trying to gain weight, it's gonna make it harder for you to do that by increasing your energy so you move more, burn more calories, and by reducing your appetite. When you're trying to lose weight, your body's gonna try and decrease your energy output, and it's gonna try and increase your appetite because it wants you to stay exactly where you are. And the reason I tell you this is twofold. Number one is a lot of people try and scare you. They try and say, oh my God, this is starvation mode. This is metabolic adaptation. This is terrible. This is awful. This is horrible. You should not be hungry ever. Your body's trying to fight you. Do not diet. It's like, hold on, let's relax for a second. It's a normal human feeling to feel hungry. And it doesn't mean your body's eating itself. It doesn't mean your muscles wasting away. It doesn't mean anything horrible has happened. It just means that you're hungry. And I feel like a lot of people nowadays are like looking at any sign of hunger as immediately awful. Like, it's okay. I think it's really important to get used to that. The second reason that I really want you to know this is important is because if you are really trying your hardest to lose fat, I think a lot of people are, if you're trying your hardest and you're being consistent and your weight's not going down, your measurements aren't going down, your pictures aren't improving, your pant size isn't going down, but you're not hungry ever, odds are you're not eating as many calories as you think you're eating, or you're eating just too many and you need to reduce your calorie intake, period, right? So maybe, let's say you're eating 2,200 calories. And for whatever calculation you followed, whether it's mine or another calculation, you're like, it says 2,200, but you're not losing weight, your pant size isn't going down, your pictures aren't improving, your measurements aren't going down, and you're not hungry. You're probably in a surplus, which means that, cool, so that was the calculation you used. Clearly it didn't work exactly for you, so not a problem. Reduce it to 2,000 calories a day. This is how it all works, and goes to the whole conversation of which calculation is right. I don't know, he says this, she says this calculation says that book told me that, my nutritionist said this. No calculation is 100% perfect, ever. The only way to know how many calories you need to eat is to go through a trial and error period. The link in the description that leads to my video showing you how many calories to eat is what I found to work by and large the best, but some people it's not accurate for, just like any calculation. So give it a shot, and the reason it's important to know your hunger is gonna go up is because if your hunger isn't increasing after week 3, week 4, week 5, you're probably not in a calorie deficit, and good. Now you know, and you can make an adjustment and eat fewer calories. Whew. All right, now we're gonna get to number 5, which it is a hand and a foot. Rico is like, is that a fucking hand and a foot? Yes, it's a hand and a foot. Before we talk about why I drew a terrible hand and foot on the board, I wanna remind you, especially if you're new to the channel, we have something called the Sorting Hat Squad. If you leave a comment in the comment section with hashtag Sorting Hat Squad, and you also have to subscribe and like the video. If you do that, you're immediately gonna be entered to win a free month in my inner circle. Every video, I pick 3 people who leave a comment, hashtag Sorting Hat Squad, to win a free month in my inner circle. I announce the winners on my Instagram story. So if you haven't done that already, please do. You'll be entered to win a free month in the inner circle. Now let's talk about why I have a hand and a foot on the board. And the reason I have a hand and a foot on the board is because odds are when you're in a calorie deficit, especially the leaner you get, if you have a lot of extra body fat, it might not happen at first, but the leaner you get, your hands and your feet, just your extremities in general, or maybe just your whole body, it will get colder, okay? And that makes sense. The less body fat you have, the colder you're gonna get. Your body fat will heat you, right? So as you lose body fat, as you're in a calorie deficit, it's very normal and common for your hands, your feet, your fingers, your toes to get more cold. I know for me personally, every time I go into a deficit after about the first 4 weeks, I have to wear like very thick socks because my feet get super cold. So that's, again, it's not definitive, and especially if you have more body fat, it's probably not gonna happen right away, but this is another sign for you to know, okay, cool, like I'm getting more coldness in my hands, more coldness in my feet and toes. That's a good telltale sign that I'm probably in a calorie deficit. All right, so now let's talk about why we have this eye drawn onto the board. And just actually to clarify, I probably could have come up with a better symbol for this. Rico had no idea why I drew the eye. That being said, I'm pretty proud of how the eye looks. I think it was drawn pretty well, right, Rico? Mm-hmm. Looks good. All right, so we've done this take already once before. We're gonna try and just get through this right now. For some reason in the last take, I said I was awful in math in school and also in drawing in school. So anyway, let's just get to the fucking topic, shall we, Jordan? Alrighty then. Why did I draw an eye on the board? The reason is because, this is such a I should have picked another symbol. You're gonna get tired, and so your eyes will close because you're sleeping more. That was so dumb. Anyway, I didn't know what else to draw. I'm not an artist, but I thought it was a good eye. You're gonna wanna sleep more. And so I wish I knew how to draw a closed eye. I don't know how to draw a closed eye, but anyway, your eyes are gonna close because you're gonna be tired more. Long story short, wow, this is a really bad clip. Either way, you're gonna get tired more. It's normal, your energy is gonna go down, which actually plays back into the hunger increasing one. Your hunger will go up when you're trying to lose weight, and your hunger will go down as you're trying to gain weight. As you're trying to lose weight, Your energy will go down as you're trying to gain weight, your energy will go up. This is all normal part of the process. This isn't dangerous, it's not bad. We'll talk about extreme cases in a second, but it's very important to know that if you're feeling a little bit more tired when you're eating less, it's like, yeah, you have literally less fucking energy in your body. Of course, you're gonna be more tired. If you're eating more in a calorie surplus, yeah, you're gonna be probably stronger. You're probably gonna feel better in the gym. You're gonna have more energy. This is all normal. It's just another thing to keep in mind. And also for you to know that if you still have a ton of energy and you feel really great, you're not supposed to feel amazing in a calorie deficit. It's like, it's in the name, it's in a deficit. You're in an energy deficit. You don't have as much energy as your body needs, which it's not a bad thing. It's like you're trying to lose mass off of your body. It's normal. And that's why if you're doing it properly, you only do it for a relatively brief period of time before you then increase calories, okay? So your energy will go down, your eyes will close, you'll be sleepy. Let's get on to the next clip. All right, so hopefully this clip turns out better than the last one. Let's talk about extreme cases. Now, before we go into it, I just wanna say one of the more common questions I get is it possible to eat too few calories? Can you do metabolic damage? And I've actually answered this question in depth in another video. The link is in the description. I would very much encourage you, please watch it, because I talk not only about the physiological damage that you can have, but also the psychological damage. And I think they're both equally important and play into each other a lot. With that said, I wanna talk about a couple of the most common ones. If you're in too much of an extreme calorie deficit for too long, you can lose your period. If you're in too much of an extreme calorie deficit for too long, you can have hair loss. And if you're in too much of a calorie deficit for an extreme period of time, then you can also lose your sex drive. These are all three probably of the most important ones that I notice, not least of which also includes muscle loss, which will also go to strength loss, right? So I don't wanna go deep into the science of this because I've done that in a separate video. So if you haven't watched that, please, the link is in the description. But I wanted to let you know that if you're in too much of a calorie deficit for too long a period of time, hair loss, strength loss, muscle loss, sex drive loss, this is all, and period loss, this is all very common if you're doing it inappropriately. This is not for an appropriate calorie deficit. And a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll say, oh, calorie deficit leads to loss of sex drive. Oh, calorie deficit leads to loss of muscle. No. Too much of a calorie deficit will lose your sex drive. Too much of a calorie deficit for too long can make you lose your period, lose your hair. But doing it appropriately, doing it sustainably, absolutely not. And it works the other way too, right? If you're trying to gain weight, you could do it too fast. You could have way too many calories way too quickly, so you gain body fat way too quickly. So then you develop other potential issues and disorders from eating way too much in way too short of a time. So then it also can impede your muscle growth. It can impede your insulin sensitivity. It can impede a lot of other factors that will actually also lead to reduced sex drive. It can hurt your body in other ways. The whole thing here isn't that a calorie deficit is bad for you or that a calorie surplus is bad for you. It's that too much of a calorie deficit and too much of a calorie surplus for too long of a time can be bad for you. And that's why we want to stay more towards the center rather than going towards either end of the extremes. So with all that being said, I'm going to reiterate 1 and 2. The truth is there is no single way to tell if you're in a calorie deficit. There's no tool or measurement or chart. It's really important to remember that. The only way to know is through trial and error and through examining each of these forms of data to see if that's happening, to see if your measurements are going down, your pictures are going down, see if your pictures are improving, to see if your weight is going down, see if your pants are fitting better, to get all of these forms of data to get an idea of whether or not you're in a calorie deficit. And again, you don't need every single one. Just 1 or 2 is enough on a consistent basis. And you also need patience. Please, for the love of God, patience. Don't do it for a day or for a week or even just for a month. It takes time. Not just patience and time, but consistency. Those are the 2 most important things that are massively undervalued. Things that are overvalued are supplements, specific exercise programs, cardio, the optimal diet, patience and consistency in a calorie deficit. I don't care what fucking diet you choose. I honestly don't really care that much what exercise program you choose. Obviously, I would love if you join the Inner Circle because I think that it's great and it's very structured and you just know exactly what to do and the community is incredible. But regardless of whether you join my program, someone else's program, you find a free one online, it doesn't matter. As long as you're being patient and you're in a calorie deficit and you're being consistent, you're gonna make progress. You really don't need to pay anybody for that. I do think that sometimes paying people, having some skin in the game, creating accountability will help you be more consistent, but you don't need to because you have everything you need available to you. So With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorting Hat Squad in the comments if you want to be entered to win a free month in Manor Circle. And do not forget, text me 617-249-7381. I did not memorize the number yet. It's okay. Text me. I will be giving out some free memberships to people who text me in the Inner Circle. All right. So I love you. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon.